The kindest Royal Guard moments ever recorded.
The channel nobody expected to go viral. It started as a small hobby account. Priya Sen, a 26-year-old video editor living in London, ran a modest social media page where she posted short clips of everyday London life. Pigeons at Trafalgar Square, buskers on the Underground, the changing seasons in Hyde Park. She had maybe 11,000 followers. Nothing extraordinary. Then, almost by accident, she posted a video that changed everything. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon outside St. James's Palace. Priya had been filming the guards for a segment on silent traditions when something unscripted happened. Something no training manual could have prepared for. And something no one expected a guard to do. She posted it with a simple caption, "Just witnessed the kindest thing." By the next morning, it had 3 million views. Within a week, Priya's page had transformed into something else entirely. A growing collection people began calling, in the comments, the kindest Royal Guard moments ever recorded. She decided to lean into it, dedicating her page to searching for and documenting exactly that. Quiet, real, unscripted moments of humanity from the guards most people assumed were emotionless statues. This is the story of 3 of those moments, and the guards behind them. Moment 1. The guard and the little girl's tears. The first video Priya ever filmed featured a guard named Corporal James Whitmore, stationed outside St. James's Palace on a cold February afternoon. A small crowd had gathered. As always, cameras raised. Among them was a family, a mother, father, and their daughter, roughly 6 years old, named Poppy. Poppy had been looking forward to this trip for months. Her school had been learning about London landmarks, and she had begged her parents to bring her to see the guards who never smile. But standing in the cold, watching Whitmore's unmoving expression up close, something about the guard's stillness frightened her. Perhaps it was the size of his tall bearskin hat, or the seriousness of his face, or simply a child's imagination running ahead of itself. Whatever the reason, Poppy suddenly burst into tears, clutching her mother's leg, refusing to look at the guard any longer. Her parents tried gently to calm her, but Poppy only cried harder, insisting she wanted to leave. Under palace regulations, Whitmore was required to remain perfectly still and silent, regardless of what unfolded around him, a fixed point of ceremonial discipline no matter the circumstance. He had stood through worse, shouting protesters, mocking teenagers, even a man once trying to make him laugh with an entire comedy routine. None of it had ever moved him, but something about a frightened child's tears was different. Without breaking his formal posture, his feet remained planted, his rifle held exactly in position. Whitmore's eyes shifted downward, meeting Poppy's through her tears. And then ever so slightly at the very corner of his otherwise unmoving mouth, a small warm smile appeared. Just for her. Just for a second, Poppy stopped crying mid-sob, startled. She stared up at him, wide-eyed. Then Whitmore did something that technically bent the rules of complete stillness, though so subtly most in the crowd missed it entirely. He gave the faintest, gentlest wink. Poppy's whole face transformed. She broke into a delighted giggle, waving both hands enthusiastically. "He winked at me. Mummy, he winked at me." Priya, standing a few feet away with her camera already rolling, had caught the entire exchange. The video, barely 15 seconds long, showed a stern-faced guard's expression softening into warmth for a frightened little girl, asking nothing in return. The caption Priya wrote was simple. He wasn't supposed to move. He moved anyway, just enough to make a scared little girl smile. It was the first video that made people start calling her page a collection of the kindest Royal Guard moments ever recorded. Moment 2. The guard who waited in the rain. The second moment Priya documented happened almost by chance. 3 months later, outside Windsor Castle, a heavy, unexpected downpour had sent most tourists scrambling for shelter. Among those left exposed to the rain was an elderly man named Harold Pemberton, 78 years old, seated in a wheelchair, alone, his caretaker having briefly stepped away to fetch an umbrella from a nearby shop. Harold had served in the military decades earlier, and visiting the castle guards had been a lifelong tradition for him, something he did every year on the anniversary of his own service discharge. But now, stranded in the rain with no shelter, he He struggled to angle his wheelchair toward any kind of cover, his frail hands slipping on the wet wheels. The guard on duty that day, a young soldier named Private Daniel Osei, watched from his post as the old man struggled, rain soaking through his coat, his medals from decades past pinned neatly to his chest despite the storm. Palace protocol was firm. Guards do not leave their post for any member of the public, under any circumstance without formal relief. But Osei made a decision in that moment that would later spread across the world. Without stepping away from his exact post, technically remaining within the small marked boundary he was required to hold, he angled his body as far as the regulation allowed, extending his own ceremonial cloak outward, creating whatever small shelter he possibly could reach toward the elderly veteran, close enough to offer some protection from the worst of the rain. It wasn't much. It couldn't fully shield Harold from the storm, but it was everything Osei could do without technically abandoning his post. A small, imperfect, deeply human gesture squeezed within the narrow space the rules allowed him. When Harold's caretaker returned moments later with an umbrella, she found the elderly veteran laughing softly, rainwater dripping from his chin, looking up at the young guard with something like awe. 78 years old, Harold reportedly told his caretaker, and that's the first time in decades a soldier's tried to shelter me instead of the other way around. Priya, who happened to be filming nearby for an unrelated piece on Windsor's architecture, caught the last 30 seconds of the exchange. The video showed young Osei, rigid and formal, angling every inch of his cloak toward a stranger in a wheelchair, rain pouring down around them both. She captioned it, "He couldn't leave his post, so he brought his post to her instead." The video reached over 8 million views within 4 days. News outlets picked up the story, and Private Osei, much to his own surprise, became something of a quiet national symbol of decency, though he remained characteristically humble about the whole thing, telling one interviewer only, "I did what anyone should have done. I just happened to be the one standing there." Moment 3, the guard who remembered a stranger's name, the final and perhaps most quietly powerful moment Priya ever captured involved a guard named Sergeant Eleanor Vance, one of the relatively few women serving in a ceremonial guard regiment, and someone whose story, once it emerged, moved people in a way few of the others had. Eleanor had been posted outside the palace for nearly 6 years. In that time, she had developed something almost nobody else on her team had noticed. An extraordinary memory for the regular visitors who came to watch the guard change, week after week, year after year. Among these regulars was a homeless man named Thomas, who had, for reasons no one quite understood, made a habit of sitting on the same low wall near the palace gates almost every single day, watching the ceremony unfold with quiet, unwavering attention. Most tourists walked past him without a second glance. Some avoided him entirely. Eleanor never spoke to him during her official duty. Protocol forbade it, same as always. But over the years, she had begun quietly, subtly, acknowledging him, the faintest nod during her march, a barely perceptible shift of her eyes toward him during the otherwise mechanical ceremony. One particularly cold December morning, as the ceremony concluded and the guards began their formal march back toward the barracks, something happened that no one, not even Eleanor's own commanding officers, had anticipated as her unit passed close by the low wall where Thomas always sat. Eleanor, without breaking formation, without slowing her measured march, without turning her head more than a fraction of an inch, spoke a single word, low enough that only Thomas could possibly have heard it. "Morning, Thomas," it was nothing. 2 words, barely audible, technically against every rule of ceremonial silence. But for a man who spent most days invisible to a world hurrying past him, being remembered, being named, by a uniformed guard mid-ceremony, in front of hundreds of onlookers meant something words could hardly capture. A nearby tourist, who happened to be a subscriber to Priya's page, caught the exchange entirely by accident on a slow-motion video she'd been filming for an unrelated reason. She sent the clip to Priya, who slowed the footage down, added subtitles, and posted it with the caption, "She's marched past him for years. Today she finally said his name." The response was overwhelming. Local charities reported a noticeable surge in outreach following the video's spread, as viewers, moved by the small gesture, sought out ways to help people like Thomas in their own communities. Thomas himself, when later approached gently by a reporter, said only, "Street for longer than I can remember." She did, That's all I needed, Sergeant Vance. True to the quiet dignity she'd shown throughout. Declined most interview requests, offering only a brief statement through her regiment. We're trained to be still, to be silent, to be strong. But nobody trains you to stop being kind. I simply chose not to lose that part of myself. The collection grows Priya's page, once a small hobby account, became something entirely different in the months that followed. A growing archive people from around the world contributed to, sending in their own footage of similarly quiet, unscripted moments of humanity from guards across the country. Not every video went viral. Not every moment made headlines. But together they built something Priya hadn't originally set out to create. Proof, recorded again and again, that discipline and compassion were never truly opposites. She eventually renamed her page to match what her followers had been calling it from the very beginning. The kindest Royal Guard moments ever recorded. In an interview reflecting on the project a year later, Priya said, "I started this by accident, filming pigeons and street performers. But somewhere along the way I realized the real story of the city wasn't in its landmarks. It was in these tiny, unscripted moments where someone chose kindness even when nobody was watching. Except, this time someone happened to be." Epilogue. Every day, in cities and palaces across the country, guards continue to stand in their assigned places. Still, silent, disciplined, exactly as tradition demands. But every so often, caught by a passerby's camera, a small, unscripted moment breaks through that stillness. A wink for a frightened child, a cloak extended in the rain. A name spoken softly to someone the world had stopped seeing. These moments are rarely planned. They're never required. And that perhaps is exactly why they matter so much. Proof that even within the strictest discipline, humanity finds its way through, one small recorded moment at a time.